So today we're going to be talking about the area of acute triangles. So we've already talked about the area of acute triangles with the yellow area material, and we've already done the area work where we count the squares to find the area of our triangle. So just like we did with the rectangle and the parallelogram, today what we're going to do is talk about the formula for finding the area of acute triangles. So I have my solid one here and I have my divided one here. And just like we saw when we did the first lesson with the acute triangles, we can't count all of our squares to find the area because we only have pieces on the edges, on some of the edges. So we have two options. Our first option, and the option that we're going to talk about first, is that we can double the area of our acute triangle. So I have my solid acute triangle here, and then I have my acute triangle that is the same size but is in two pieces. So the way we double the area of the acute triangle is that we combine this acute triangle and this acute triangle together, like so. Okay. So now we've made a square. And just like we did the first time, we could count every single square. There are 100 here. That would take a very long time to count every single square. So we could also count by tens using our rows or tens using our columns because both our base and our height have a 10. But just like we were doing with the rectangle and the parallelogram, we're going to use a formula. So our formula for the area of an acute triangle like this one, for this situation that we've just done where we've doubled the area, is area equals the base times the height. And so at this point, it looks the same as the formula for either the parallelogram or the rectangle. However, we doubled the area just now. So what we need to do is, in order to find the area of just one of these acute triangles, just one of them, we're going to need to divide the area in half. So that means we're going to divide by 2. Up. Okay, so we're going to need to divide the answer we get for the base times the height by 2. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to move my formula off to the side while I place the tickets that show us the value of the base and the value of the height. So we won't be able to see this, and then we can see here we go. All right, so this is our formula. The value for our base is, you can count it real quick just to make sure, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So the value or length of our base is 10 unit squares. Okay, that's our base. The value or measurement for the height of our acute triangles that we've put together is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's also 10. I bet some of you already know what the area is going to be, or at least what the area of the doubled area. All right. So we have our base, which is 10, and we have our height, which is 10. So just like before, we're going to replace our base with our measurement, 10. And our height, where we've doubled the area, is also 10. So now, our area equals 10 times 10, and then we'll divide that answer that we get by 2. Okay, so 10 times 10 is, I'll give you a second to answer, it's 100. So 10 times 10 is 100. And then we have 100 divided by 2. 100 divided in half. So if we take 100 and we divide it by 2, we split it in half, it gives us 50. So the area of just one of our equilateral triangles is 50 unit squares, or 50 units squared. So that's the first way we can solve for the area of an acute triangle. This is the way we would solve it if we double the area. Now I'm going to show you what we would do with the second option. This will stay here. These will go back, and I will get the other acute triangle. So again, we have two acute triangles. And as we know from our previous work, they're the same size. The only difference is that this one is solid and this one is divided. So the other way we can find the area of an acute triangle. We saw the first way, which was doubling the area. The other way we can do it is we can take our base, okay, and then we can multiply it by half of the height. So the height of our triangle is 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Even though we only have pieces of a square up here, we know that it is 10 because this side of those pieces is the full length. That's how we know. Okay, so we're going to take half of our height and we're going to multiply it by, oh, let me move this, the base. So we see that our base is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Our base is 10, just like before. Okay. And then we have our height that we divided in half. So the full height of our triangle we determined was 10. So I'm going to place that because it was 10 to start with. Okay. So for this area formula, what we've done is to solve for it, we've taken half the height, right? So the way that looks is area equals the base, actually, is the base times, now I'm going to place these two shapes. They are called parentheses. And when we have parentheses, whatever is inside of them is what is done first. That is the first step. So inside our parentheses, we have our height divided by 2, divided in half, just like we saw before. I'm going to adjust these a little bit so everything will fit. Let's see. I'm going to cut this and make it a little bit shorter, and hopefully that will help. Yeah, there we go. So inside our parentheses, we have our height divided by 2. So what we're going to do is we're going to place our base. Just like our other problems, we're going to put the value of our base in, the measurement of our base, which is 10. Then we're going to take our full height, which is what we measured when we had the acute triangle assembled, okay? And so that's 10. So our first step in this problem is that we are going to divide 10 by 2. We're going to split 10 in half. So half of 10, 10 divided by 2, equals 5. Okay, so now our problem is the area of our acute triangle equals 10 times 5. So all we have to do is solve 10 times 5. So that tells us that the area of our acute triangle is 50. So now I'm going to show you what it will look like for each of these problems, for each of these ways of solving for the area of an acute triangle when we don't have squares to count and we don't have pieces of a shape to move around. So I will move these out of our way. I'm going to show a couple of problems like what you will see on your follow-up work. So I'm going to draw 2 acute triangles. Okay, so it's important to note that no matter which direction an acute triangle is facing, or how it's tilted or turned or flipped, it is still an acute triangle. So regardless of how the acute triangle looks, if it's an acute triangle, we'll use the same formulas we just talked about. So I'm going to go ahead and write my formula. I'm going to say that for this one, let's see, I'm going to use my first formula on this triangle. So area equals, I'm going to write this a little bit lower so I have room to put my base and my height. So area equals base times height, and then we divide that answer by 2. All right, so let's say my base is 6 inches, and my height, this is how it will show you the height of the acute triangle when you're doing work on paper. I'm going to put an arrow so we have more space to write it. My height equals 7. Okay, so now I will just put my measurements, my values into my formula. So the area of this acute triangle equals 6, which is the value of the base, times the height, which is 7, divided by 2. So the area of my acute triangle equals 42 divided by 2, which equals 20, equals 21. So 21 inches squared, or square inches. You can say it either way, it means the same thing. Okay? So now we're going to use this one, and I'm going to solve it by using my other formula. Okay? So let's see. I'm going to turn this so that I can easily write a line that shows the height of this acute triangle. Again, I will put an arrow for more space. So let's say our height is 12 and our base is 4. And let's use centimeters this time. So I'm going to write down the formula that I will use in this case. I'm going to keep it tilted so that you can better see what's happening. I think that'll make sense. Okay, so here we have our area. Our area formula is our base times, we have our parentheses, the height divided by 2. Okay, so area equals 4 times 12 divided by 2. And we know that because it's in the parentheses, that's what we do first. So 12 divided by 2, 12 split in half, is 6. So my area equals 4 times 6. So the area of this acute triangle is 24 square centimeters, or centimeters squared. So something important to think about when you're solving these problems is to look at your height. So here, my height was 12 centimeters and my base was 4 centimeters. Now, I could have used this to solve it. You can use either one, but it's better to use this formula, base times height divided by 2, in this case because my height is a bigger number. Okay, so 7 and 6, that's still a fairly easy math fact. But once we get into 12s, that's a higher math fact, and you may not know that right away. It's also important to note that in a case such as this one, if we were to use this formula where we divide the height by 2, we would get a mixed number. We would get 3 1/2 here. For most of us, we haven't covered multiplying by fractions yet, so we would not want to divide this number. I will make sure that in our follow-up work, we don't have any numbers where if you chose to use this formula, you would get a mixed number. So we're only going to be working with whole numbers. But as I was saying here, instead of having to multiply by 12, we just split this in half, which gives us 6. So instead of having to multiply 4 times 12 and get 48, and then divide 48 by 2 to find 24, all we have to do is multiply 4 by 6, which is an easier math fact to do. And that gives us 24 square centimeters. So for your follow-up work, there is a sheet for you to solve the area of the acute triangles. and afterwards your parents will need to take a photo of it and upload it to um, our class or your lesson groups, either folder or um, assignment. I'm recording this video on Tuesday, so we're still not quite sure how that's going to work out, but ideally when you see this, you will know which one it is. If you have any questions at all, please let me know. You can either email me or maybe even try and video chat. I'm not entirely sure which one would be best, but I'm more than willing to help, and I will see you guys again soon. Bye.